Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:32 p.m. and we will get this meeting called to order. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas will be held on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. by telephonic video conferencing, which will be live streamed and accessible to the public as provided below for the purpose of considering the following agenda items. All agenda items are subject to action. In an effort to advance the public health goal of limiting face-to-face meetings, also called social distancing, to slow the spread of the coronavirus, COVID-19, there will be no in-person public access to the meeting. In accordance with the order of the Office of the Governor issued March 16, 2020, the City of Sandy Oaks will provide a live stream video and telephonic access of the meeting to the public. The public may participate in this meeting by using the links and phone numbers that are provided on the agenda. The public will be permitted to offer public comments telephonically or by audio as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting by signing up with the city secretary at least 2 hours in advance of the meeting, by emailing cityclerk@cityofsandyoaks.com, or by calling 210-607-0834. Written comments may be submitted to the city secretary up to 2 hours before the meeting and will be provided to the city council for their consideration. A recording of the telephonic meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Texas Public Information Act upon request. Ms. Shelton is out this evening. I will ask Ms. Rabe if she will do a quorum call for us, please.
Alderman Fillinger,
Here.
Alderman Bricken,
Here.
Alderman Rapino,
Here.
Alderman Crickmer. Alderman Crickmer.
You're muted.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm here.
Okay, and Alderman Puente.
Here.
There is a quorum present.
We have also with us City Secretary Charlotte Rabe. We have Ms. Ortiz, our city attorney, on the line, and myself. So item number 2 on the agenda is citizens to be heard. Persons wishing to speak may sign up with the city clerk at least 2 hours in advance of the meeting by emailing cityclerk@cityofsandyoaks.com or calling 210-607-0834. Please note that the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the City Council from responding, commenting, or discussing items or topics during this portion of the meeting that are not included on the agenda. The City Council appreciates hearing from the citizens, and your thoughts and questions are valued. However, civility and a sense of decorum will be strictly followed. All speakers must address their comments to the City Council. Speakers shall refrain from public criticism of members of the council that are prohibited by law. This item will be open for up to 30 minutes with 3 minutes to each speaker. One person may speak on behalf of a group. Up to 3 persons may register on behalf of the group in order for the spokesperson to be allotted up to 9 minutes to speak. If there are more than 10 speakers, each will be given 2 minutes or 6 minutes for a group spokesperson. We did receive one email, and that has been shared with each of the council members. And it is from Douglas Tomasini. And I'm not going to read it because it's just a lot of questions, and we know that we cannot answer any questions. So each of the council members, it's been provided to you as indicated within the citizens to be heard. Charlotte, this is not mine. I think that was on the printer, not for me, but for someone else. Okay, item 3 on the agenda, mayor and administrator announcements and updates. We have 2 items on the agenda. The first one is the investment officer training. I just want to publicly recognize Alderman Crickmer for completion of the virtual learning concepts for Texas Public Investments Fund, and it's 10 hours of training, and he passed with flying colors. So thank you, Alderman Crickmer, and congratulations.
Good, thank you.
And item B is City Hall new location. Everyone here, I think, is aware that we have now moved into our new building. That's where myself, Priscilla, Charlotte, and Gary Bricken are at the moment. It's a little chaotic still, but it's functional. We're able to do our jobs here, and there'll just be work continuing, as we go along. For those council members who have not been down here since we moved in, you should make a point to come by and check it out. And it's not as pretty as it will be, but we'll get there. Okay, item 4, consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. There are 2 items on here. Item A, approve the minutes from the April 8th, 2021 regular City Council meeting, and item B, approve the minutes from the April 13th, 2021 special City Council meeting. Item A, I'm going to pull that because those are not yet ready, and that would leave the minutes from the very long, exaggerated meeting that we had on the 13th. I'm being facetious.
I'll move that we approve item B on the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Mr. Bricken beat you to it, Ms. Puente. We have a motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Bricken to approve the minutes from the April 13th special City Council meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We will move on to item 5. I'm going to pull item A as Marshall Lopez is not with us this evening. We'll move on to item B, which is discuss and or possible action on ordinance 2021-181, establishing a citizen complaint review board and related matters. So each of the council members should have received, there was an initial set of documents that came out. And then I think today the city attorney sent in another set, and I'm looking for the red line version. Oh, here it is. No, right here. Sorry. So, it's one of those days, guys. Sorry. Okay.
You got it?
I do, but it's
Okay.
not in red, but that's
Oh.
okay. I can make out, even though it's not in red, I can make out. No. It's the newest red line.
It's the only one that got marked red line.
Well, so the difference, and Cassandra, keep me honest here, but the only difference between the original red line you received and the subsequent red line that you received was making it anywhere there was a reference to the police chief, we also added the city administrator and or the mayor.
That, and there is also a proposed section, I
Under
think it's
5B,
F.
under 5B. Is that correct?
Oh, no, I'm talking about 8. So everything is in reference to where the chief of police is referenced, also the city administrator or mayor. But 8F contains an additional section about no recording or recording would be prohibited.
Okay. And what's interesting is I got 4 pages, but it's the same.
That's what I got.
No, I got 2 of each page, is what I'm saying. Oh, I get it. You only sent, I see what you did. Okay. You
Yeah,
only sent the pieces that were amending to the original red line you sent.
Yeah, because council made some amendments or some proposed amendments at the last meeting. That is one red line draft, and then just the additional proposed amendments that have not been considered by council are on a separate document.
Okay, perfect. Priscilla, could you monitor to see if there's anybody looking to get in? I want to make sure that. Go to participants. Click on the tab, the button on the bottom says participants. You're almost there. Left, 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 right there. Click on that. Nobody's waiting. Nobody in the waiting room. Okay, just want to make sure.
This is the last copy she's talking about here.
Well, what she did, these pages here, these 2 pages,
Mm,
is just the notes for additional amendments to this red line version that she
Okay.
sent. Okay. So if everyone remembers, if you look at the red line, the original red line version that she sent, there was changes on section 3, paragraph B, item 2, where we said, we were talking about the members of the CCRB being, one of the requirements was that they make a commitment to serve their appointed term. So we changed it from a 1-year commitment and changed it to just read, make a commitment to serve, and added their appointed term. So that was one change. And we'll go through the red line first, then we'll go through the additional changes just to kind of keep it straight. Section 4, paragraph A is where we changed the wording to split the 4 members from the public, so that initially 2 of them will serve 1 year, and then the other 2 will serve 2 years, and then we'll get on a rotation of a 2-year. Item D in the same section was identifying the month. We decided on May of each year. And then on to, that was it. So that was easy peasy. Now let's look at the other 2 pages she sent. So in the recitals, page 1, the 4th recital, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so she has added, where right at towards the end of the sentence where it says chief of police, and then she's added or the city administrator or mayor. We're doing that because if there is a complaint against the marshal, it doesn't make sense that the complaint would go to the marshal. It needs to go to someone else. If it's against one of his deputies, then the complaint, of course, would go to him and become part of this process. So you'll see that referenced here in these in that first recital, and then on the next one down, same thing, where we're adding chief of police or city administrator or mayor. And then under section 5, powers and duties. So under item A, same thing, we're adding or to the city administrator or the mayor regarding a citizen complaint against the chief of police. And then item B, also referencing city administrator or the mayor, again, for both of those. And then and same thing under section 5, paragraph B, item 2, doing the same thing. And then on number 3, get to that page, here we go. So on item 3, we're adding at the end of the original, we're adding or subject to the approval of the city administrator or the mayor regarding a citizen complaint against the chief of police. And then item 7, same thing, adding the reference for city administrator or mayor. And under section 8, we're adding an entirely new paragraph, which is item F. And this one reads, any recording of the meeting is prohibited, and the chief of police or city administrator or mayor, I'm sorry. Or mayor, where were we? Regarding citizen complaints against the chief of police may request a person in attendance remove any recording device, including a cell phone or tablet, from the meeting room until the meeting is concluded. A person may be asked to leave the meeting room upon failure to comply with the request. So there was another section in here that talked about notes. And I felt like it was important that we add also, we cannot be recording these review board meetings. So that's the purpose of the addition of section or item F in section 8. And then under section 9, both, wait a minute. Oh, sorry, I'm up here. Section 9, paragraphs B and C, also making reference to city administrator or mayor. And then section 10 is just a spelling correction. Very last sentence there where it said by ordinance, it had a period and then a cap, and that we're just correcting that. And other than that, those are the changes. So Ms. Ortiz, I would like to ask you from a motion perspective, is this a two-part? We're going to approve the proposed and then approve the amendments, or can it be all done at one?
So it would be an approval or a motion to approve the proposed amendments, because at the last meeting, I believe all the amendments that were made by council were approved. So now it would just be a motion to approve the proposed amendments, either individually if they're not all accepted, or as a whole, and then approve the ordinance as amended.
Okay, y'all got that?
No.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at, and I may be misunderstanding this. I'm looking at section 6, item B, the board by majority vote of its membership may compel the attendance of witnesses. What witnesses are we talking about?
Hold on, I'm looking for, oh, there's section 6.
6B.
6B.
6B. So it says the board by majority vote of its membership, for example, 4 would be a majority, may
Yeah.
compel the attendance of witnesses and require the production of such records and other materials as are necessary of the investigation of complaints submitted.
Those may be witnesses that either witnessed the alleged misconduct, or possibly witnesses that are in the police department that may know of an officer's alleged misconduct. Anybody that could help assist with facts of the case and help the board assist them.
So the board would have subpoena power?
Yeah, basically they would have subpoena power to get that, to have those witnesses attend.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about.
I see Alderman Crickmer has his hand up. Go ahead, sir.
Would there be character witnesses, or is that too far astray?
I honestly do not believe that character witnesses would play. We're going to be strictly dealing with the facts of the case, of the complaint. I
Mhm.
don't know that character comes into that.
Okay.
Is that a two-edged sword? About the character of the police officer.
Hold on, Alderman Brookins asking a question. Go ahead, sir.
Is that a two-edged sword? If they cannot produce character witnesses, can the officer involved produce them?
I don't know that character witnesses are anything that we want to deal with here, because
Okay.
then you start becoming very subjective,
Okay.
and it
well,
needs to be more objective of the facts presented. You know, there would be a specific complaint that X happened, and proof to either substantiate that or disprove it is what I'm thinking. Is that correct, Ms. Ortiz? Did I lose her?
I don't
Okay.
hear, so.
She's muted at the moment, but quite honestly, character witnesses would, the board is going to be reviewing the investigation. If they feel more investigations needed, they will proceed with that. But yeah, character witnesses really aren't what we're looking for. We're looking for, did the officer, is there a case for misconduct? Is there a case for racial profiling? Is there a case for abusive language? And character or no character is kind of off to the side. We're looking at strict facts. I cannot envision a case where a character witness would need to be called to establish a fact.
Right.
Yeah. And we're just making a recommendation, right? It's not a court.
Exactly.
Right, it's really just an advisory board to anyone who would make a disciplinary action or take disciplinary action if needed. So it would really just be on the facts.
Right.
Basically, the board is going to review the chief of police decision as to whether an individual should be disciplined or not disciplined. And that's what the board's going to be looking at it at. Either the chief of police, the mayor, the city administrator, what steps did they take? Was the officer guilty? And we're going to review those facts and either agree with the discipline or make a suggestion that something else needs to be done.
Right.
And then it's back on the chief's desk as to what needs to be done, or on the mayor's desk as to what needs to be done.
Okay.
It's just a double check that did the marshal actually investigate, and are these the facts?
Right.
And from there, it's a matter of does the board agree with discipline, or are they going to suggest something else? In no case do we have the power to do the board will not have power to say, no, he needs another 3 weeks off. Because that's not what they're saying. Either we're going to agree or disagree with the actions taken by the official that's in charge of discipline.
Right. Okay, are there any other questions? Well, if, hold on. I think I have one more thing. Might be. Oh. Okay, Cassandra, I was just looking at this, the recommendations based on complaints, but you've got it incorporated in the amendment, so we're good on that. Okay. With that, we can entertain a motion if someone is so inclined.
Okay, guys, I guess I'm going to do this again. I move that we approve the amendments as reviewed, the proposed amendments to the CCRB ordinance for second reading. I move that we approve those amendments.
I'll second.
Okay, one thing before we move forward on that I need to clarify is, oh, that's not the right one. Is the effective date. So, Ms. Ortiz, is it okay to pass and approve this today, even though the SOPD will not be official until May? Or do we need to address the date?
I thought that the effective date was when the SOPD was official. So the effective date says concurrently as the effective date. So whenever that effective date, when the SOPD is official, was that proposed effective date, unless that needs to be changed. But because deals with SOPD and not the marshal's office, it probably wouldn't be effective until the SOPD is actually established. Or actually,
Well, and so where we are with the SOPD is all of the documents, I mean, for all practical purposes, everything is in place. Officially making that transition, I am waiting on the patches for the shirts to come in, the new shields, the vehicles the lettering to be adjusted. And then we have to actually swear in the chief and the deputies to the new position. So we are anticipating that to happen by our next meeting. So we could, do we want to change the date on here? And there's two things that have to happen before we're hard official. It's like switching your electric service. You're gonna turn one off and turn one on. And so those will happen at the very same time. But we have to get back with T-Cole and Austin to let them know when to pull the switch, if you will. But for all practical purposes, we have all of our approvals, everything is in place. But I don't want to say that the PD is officially open because we still have a few minor things that I'd like in place before that happens. So can we change does it have to have a date on it or can it have a reference to an event?
well, the proposed reference is to the effective date of ordinance 2021-180. So you can either have a solid date of when you want it to take effect or have it when the SOPD is up and running and official.
Okay. So back to the motion that's been made, I will ask Alderman Fillinger and Alderman Rapino, would you like to bring that back and offer a suggestion?
I was speaking into my dead mic. The motion is to approve the amendments to the ordinance.
Yes.
So I think we have to take care of that before we can address the entire ordinance.
Okay, is that acceptable, Ms. Ortiz?
Yes, take up the motion that's currently on the table. If any additional amendments need to be made, those can be made by separate motion, and then the entire ordinance approved or taken up to.
Perfect. Okay, so currently we have a motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to approve the amended proposed ordinance 2021-180, 182.
182 now.
No, sorry. 181,
181.
sorry. So all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. So now we should probably address the date that we want to reflect on this now approved.
Can we discuss the other parts of the ordinance before we move on, ma'am?
Well, you are free to speak.
Okay, I seem to remember when we were talking about applications for the board, we were gonna request people to submit a short resume stating their qualifications and interest. And we are going to interview the people. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Good.
I will tell you, I had a
There's been a lot of
conversation.
questions.
Well, I did want to offer, I had a conversation with Marshall Lopez to ask how we wanted to proceed with that. He and I kind of came to an agreement that anyone who is interested, once this is effective, we can't do it before then. So we'll have to address when this is going to be effective. But once it's effective, anyone who is interested in serving in that capacity just needs to email the city clerk at cityofsandyoaks.com. who in turn will provide a release document for a background check. And then that is in essence their application. So the background check will be run first to make sure that all of the criteria is met. And if that is the case, then they would be scheduled for an interview. So that's,
Okay.
we're trying to make it as easy as possible.
Then, yeah, that satisfies my question then, ma'am.
Okay. And Ms. Ortiz, you mentioned something about ordinance 180, which I think was establishing the PD. And I don't have that one in front of me. What was the date that we, or what was the, what did we put for effective on that one?
It was contingent on approval of TCOL and any other state agencies. Basically, once the SOPD became official, the ordinance would become official.
Okay. So how would you want to word that? Charles, you have a suggestion on that one?
I'm
Whipping
looking for
boy.
I'm looking for the final version of the 180. And
So the effective date of 181 proposed says concurrently as the effective date of ordinance number 2021-180.
Okay.
Is that, so the language is already in there unless you want a solid date or some other date, or if we know of a date.
We don't know the date, the exact date.
I like,
I'm perfectly happy with the language that we have in the ordinance establishing the police department.
Okay,
Okay, so let me read it out.
okay,
Effective date. This ordinance shall take effect upon final approval by applicable state agencies certifying the Sandy Hook Police Department.
perfect.
Okay,
Okay. Is
and
that a
that
motion?
way,
Was that a motion?
that was my recommendation for the effective date, ma'am. Do I need to make a motion to amend it? I will
think
make
so,
that a
yes.
motion. Let me get it all back together here, maybe. Okay, where'd we go? All right, I'm scrolling. My computer's jumping all over the place. Okay, let me see. The red line version I have, section 13, effective date. This ordinance shall become effective concurrently as the effective date of ordinance number 2021-180, adopted by City Council on March 11th, 2021. I think that's just fine, ma'am,
Okay,
as it is.
I'll second that.
is that
uh,
Alderman Crickmer?
Yes.
Okay,
No, that wasn't a motion because I'm recommending the language is correct as it is. And if nobody else has any thoughts about it, I'd move that we adopt the ordinance 2021 come back here. 2021-181, an ordinance City Council, City of Sandy Oaks establishing a citizen complaint review board with an effective date of 22nd day of April 2021.
no, that's not what we're
Oh.
doing.
What are we doing, ma'am?
Well, what we want the effective date on 181 to be the same as 180.
Yes, ma'am. But, and that's what that's what is on here, and I'm saying we should approve it, pass and approve it as of today.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, but you don't want to put any reference in here about it being contingent upon 2021.
It's in there, ma'am.
Where?
It's not in 81.
It's not in 81. That's what I'm saying.
We want to add it.
Oh, hold on. Oh,
Please,
I'm getting my ordinances mixed up here. I have 182 in front of me. No wonder I can't.
thank
see it.
you.
It's under
Please.
section 13.
Section
181.
13, ma'am.
I'm working on it. I have so many
You got one?
pieces of paper. It's
Oh, here, Mickey,
183.
here.
Thank you. 13. Oh, well, then we don't have to do anything.
I move the amendment as presented and amended, ma'am.
Okay, well, we already passed that one.
So now you-
No, we did the amendments. Now we got to do the ordinance, correct?
Okay. So was that your motion, Fillinger? I am so sorry.
Ma'am, I move that we pass and approve ordinance number 2021-181 as amended. End of my motion.
Perfect. Okay, we need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Alderman Fillinger and a second Alderman Rapino to approve the ordinance 2021-181 as amended. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carries, and I apologize for the extreme confusion on my side of that equation. Okay, let's move on to item 6, animal control. Item A, updates and announcements from Animal Control Advisory Committee Chair Jennifer Puente with possible discussion and/or action. Do you have any updates or announcements?
No, but our next meeting will be on Monday, what's the date? The 26th at 6:30 PM.
The 26th at 6:30.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know that if I shared this with you, but the mobile vet clinic was hugely successful. And we did 21 microchips at that event. So those are very, very well received. I have not gotten feedback from Penny Paws yet on how they viewed it, but it was a steady line from before they even got there. So it was a very highly successful event.
Damn near killed me.
It's a lot of dogs there.
My dog was the worst one.
Okay, let's move on to item 7, Public Works. Item A, updated announcements from Park Advisory Committee Chair Tom Rapino with possible discussion and/or action.
Yes, we had a meeting on Tuesday at which we discussed many subjects. Chief among them was that we decided we were going to submit for a couple of grants that we will decide on what the object of that grant will be. We are taking some steps to probably improve the trail and some other items within the park itself, maybe exercise, but we are going at our next meeting to come up with some ideas. I've contacted the grant guy, Gary Smith at the Grant Works. At least I have a call into him. He hasn't called me back. And Dan Reese for the State Parks Grant Committee. So when they get back to me, I we'll discuss some more things with them, and hopefully after the next meeting, we can actually have some grants in the works.
Good.
And we hopefully can improve our parks. And that's all I have.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I think item B, Priscilla, did we get any quotes for signs? I don't think so. Sorry, we've had a busy day. I'm gonna pull item B, and we can put that on the next agenda item, or next agenda, sorry. Item 8 is under administration. Item A, discussing or possible action on a quote received for City Hall and Police Department security cameras. So you should have 2 quotes. And if you remember back in February, we did get a quote from JDL. That was strictly for the wiring that was needed here for setting up the network. Cameras were not included in that quote at all. Now that we're in, there are a few cameras, but we need more. I'm not going to say where they're not. That would not be good to do that. But you can see here, there's also some this extended splitter allows the marshals department. So the marshal and City Hall are on separate networks. They're partitioned, and that's by design. But the cameras for the marshal's wing, if you will be only visible to the marshal's department. So they have somebody in the holding cell. There's a camera in there, so they can keep an eye on the person that's being detained. But that doesn't need to be monitored by the city clerk or the court clerk or anybody else. But the marshal their department will also have the ability to monitor all of the cameras. And so that's what that extender is for. Jerry has already begun laying the cabling because he already had the cabling to do that. But we need the extender and the cameras for the areas that are lacking at this moment. So there's 2 quotes. One is for City Hall and one is for the police department. And the grand total on all this is it looks like it's around close to $10,000. And then I was asked by somebody on council if we have the money for that. We do have the money for that. We will be doing a budget amendment after we get the audit, which I'm hoping is coming up either in the next meeting or the one after that. And we will do a budget amendment in anticipation of or getting that done to finish out this year. So this is nothing unusual. We have had, I'll give you all a little bit of heads up on for the budget perspective. The court fines and fees, you know, we did this, I think 1 year, not even a full year, and we budgeted, we had no idea what to budget for that. And so when we came to this fiscal year, we really didn't have a good baseline because we didn't have a full year. So we budgeted the exact same thing, which was $70,000. As of the end of March, we have brought in $89,000 and we are only halfway through the year. So in answer to the question, do we have the money? The answer is we have a lot of volunteers contributing to that effort.
Should we thank the speakers?
So anyway,
I consider this vital.
this most definitely from a security perspective is extremely important. And remember, we're leaving the cameras in place that are down at the other building because there's some that are monitoring various sections. It's monitoring the building. And we certainly don't want to have an incident like happened a few years back. So these are very specific to these 2 departments here at this building.
So what do you want?
What do I want?
Motion to accept?
For the City Hall and the police department security cameras. Now, before you do that, let me add this up and let's get an exact total on here. Uh, $9,815.89.
I'm comfortable with that. I move we accept both of the bids not to exceed $10,000.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
Whew.
Oh,
Okay, I heard Crickmer first. So Alderman Fillinger has made a
Fine.
motion to accept both quotes for a cost not to exceed $10,000. And we have a second by Alderman Crickmer. There any other questions?
Yes, ma'am, I have a question.
Yes,
Well, first of all, I'd like to make a statement. I wish we didn't have $89,000 in fines coming in
exactly.
and people would just do the right thing. But having said that, would it be socially acceptable to send a thank you card to all the volunteers that have contributed to this fund?
they send them a receipt.
Right?
Catherine always tells them thank you.
Catherine does thank them. Okay. So back on track here. We have a motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Crickmer to accept the two bids as presented for a price not to exceed $10,000. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Okay. Okay, we will move on to item B, which is discuss and a possible action on approving ordinance 2021-182, establishing city hall and related matters. So that was the one I was looking at ahead of time, which was incorrect. We're looking for 182. Oy vey. 183. Okay, so this ordinance here is establishing the city hall, providing for the hours of operation, providing for an opening date, renaming and designating the use for the building that was formerly designated as city hall, and providing a severability clause, providing a repealer clause, and providing for an effective date. So we're just changing the address from 4451 Hickory Haven to be the new address of 22870 Priest Road. The hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 to 12. Break for lunch from 12 to 1 and back from 1 to 5, closed on Saturday and Sunday. On section 3, the opening date was April 19. That's the day that we were in and operational. On section 4, we're going to designate the use of the building that is the previous city hall. And so we need to come up with a name. I just wrote in here Sandy Oaks Community Center. We can call it anything y'all want to call it. And then it says it's designated for, and I put private or public and private use, but we can determine if there's another word or phrase that you would want to put in there. And other than that, those are the only blanks that need to be filled in, which is section 3 and section 4.
But
Sounds good to
Charles
me.
does his homework and I made notes. I agree with the Sandy Oaks Community Center as the nomenclature for the old city hall.
I do too.
So I would make a motion that we section 4 designation of use of building formerly designated blah 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 is hereby renamed Sandy Oaks Community Center. That is
I'll
a
second
motion.
that.
Okay, so
I'll
we have a
second.
motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to designate the former City Hall to be Sandy Oaks Community Center. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, and then the next item,
Is hereby renamed Sandy Oaks Community Center and designated for, and here's my verbiage:
Mhm.
group activities, social support, public information, and other purposes as authorized by city council.
Well, I
I'll
got-
second that.
wait, hold
Oh, go
on.
ahead.
That
Go
wasn't a
ahead.
motion, that's discussion.
No, I
I
like
wrote
that.
down
Oh,
group
okay.
activities. What was the rest of it?
Comma, social support,
Social support.
comma, public information, and other purposes as authorized by city council.
Question. Would that include voting there?
No, voting would be here.
Okay.
And I know that they'll be happy to hear that because the network down there is so poor and up here it's so much better. My question for you, Alderman Fillinger, give
Yes,
me,
ma'am.
give me an idea of the public information component of your statement. What would that entail?
That's why I asked about the voting.
Public information could be flyers. We might want to make a nice display of wildlife in the park, plant life in the park.
Could we change it from public information to just general information?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
And my concern is, I think that by calling it public information, that could create some confusion around public information requests.
Okay, we can have a sign, all public information requests to go to City Hall.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's fine, general information, you know, I hope we get some study groups and an old man's coffee hour down there.
Me too.
Well, and so that begs the question related to the final portion of what you said. And you said, as authorized by city council. I was hoping that the Parks Committee and their members could be the keepers of the keys, if you will. And let them decide. Now, the only time that it would need to come to council, if I'm understanding correctly, is if there's a request for expenditure of monies in support of something that's happening down there. But as far as the scheduling and the identifying the things that it would be used for, let them kind of be the go-to people.
Yeah, if we just call it a community center, if we start defining it down to the nth degree, it,
I agree.
It's kind of, I don't know. I think just calling it a community center and then deciding what can, even if we just put a flyer out or a sign or a statement or on the website, what can go on in the community center, maybe that would suffice instead of having
well, that's why I had put in there public/private use, because private would entail that it's available for rental, and public would be public activities.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And
Yeah,
I
tell
agree
me-
that all those things could probably go on in there. But, and I'm sure we could add some stuff to that too, that.
Sure. And I'm kind of with you on that. If we start defining a list, then it's going to look like that's the definitive list. And then we may have to keep bringing it back every time we want to change something. I was hoping to have something a little bit more generic.
I think we should.
Hold on. What,
Give me your generic words again, Matt.
public/private use. Alderman Bricken has a question.
Well, actually, it's more of a comment. I think we should have on that section, just leave it at the moment as you put it, 2 words, public, private. But there must be guidelines to give to the park committee and so forth, to make sure that we're not opening up a can of worms. And something that
Well-
be approved by our attorney to make sure that we're not inadvertently eliminating. I mean, the fact is, we've seen number of cases where, like dedicated highways for trash pickup, they had to get into the Ku Klux Klan. So I'm sure there are things we just want to make sure that we're giving the park committee the authority, but a set of guidelines that we approve to follow. And if there's a,
There's
Well, I
probably-
agree that we should have the common sense to know we wouldn't give it to a, Antifa or something like that.
Right.
And I mean, I think the people on the Parks Committee now are sensible people, but we do need guidelines, we can come up with those. I'll put it on the next Park Committee agenda. to
Well,
come up
and I
with
have had,
guidelines that we-
I've had a conversation
ahead,
with your activities director and asked
Yeah,
her in
Gloria.
anticipation of the next meeting to go ahead and put together some things. So be
Yeah,
expecting
she's
that.
sensible.
Yeah, and so she and I kind of covered a few things. She had some ideas, I had some ideas, and they'll be presented at your next Parks Committee. But right now, we're just trying to designate the name of the
The
building
name.
and
yeah,
what it's going to be
and-
used for. We're not defining all
Right.
the activities,
I think the 2 words are
Right.
good enough.
public and private use.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
okay,
Yeah, me too.
okay.
So I'll make a motion that we put and designate it for public and private use.
Okay,
I'll
And I'll
second that.
second that.
who said that?
I did.
Mr. Crickman
Charles.
did.
Okay,
Oh, okay, or John,
He led me by a fraction of a second.
second.
we have a motion by Alderman Rapino and a second by Alderman Crickmer to fill in section 4 to read after the naming of the Sandy Oaks Community Center and designated for public/private use. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay. I put that on the wrong thing, but that's okay. I know what I'm doing here. Okay, then we're gonna move on to item
Don't we
8.
have to approve this don't we have to?
Oh, sorry,
approve this
sorry.
Ordinance?
We do. Thank you for keeping me honest here. So we have approved amending this proposed ordinance. Now we need a motion to approve the ordinance as amended.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-182 as amended.
Okay?
Is that all I need to? Okay,
We have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve ordinance 2021-182 as amended. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second by Alderman Puente. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Let me put as amended. Okay. Item C, discuss and or possible action on approving ordinance 2021-183, authorizing a change of the date, time, and location of city council, regular city council meetings. This is just a formality related to our move. And you can see here in the red line version, what's interesting is the second paragraph there. We just kept the words the city council, everything else was changed. And it says, whereas by ordinance number 2021-182, the city council established a new city hall and designated it as the location for city council meetings and renamed and designated the building formerly known as City Hall. Also known as the municipal building where city council meetings had been held. So we're just rewording that and changing the address in section 3 and referencing section 4. We're referencing the ordinance 2021 dash.
No,
No,
129-132.
mine's all smudged. 132. Okay,
2098.
2019 or 2018?
Well, this is- Mine reads
2019-132.
2019
dash-
132. Okay. And that's pretty much the crux of that entire ordinance there, so. Any questions on that? Okay. Would anyone care to make a motion?
With no questions being asked, I move that we pass and approve ordinance number 2021-183, an ordinance of the city council, city of Sandy Oaks, authorizing the change of the date, time, and location of regular city council meetings.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Fillinger to approve ordinance 2021-183 as presented, and a second by Alderman Rapino. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And folks, guess what? It is 7:34, 1 hour and 2 minutes into this meeting, and we are adjourned. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and everyone have a safe evening. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Yeah,
night.
have a good night.
Hey.